Following an emergency announcement, chaos and panic spread everywhere, and people ran away and found places to hide, as the announcement told to prioritize children and the elderly for evacuation. The street turns silent, while people hide, cowering in fear. One of the people who could hide in a building with walls collapsed peeks from the side and sees a flesh giant staring right at him, who smashes the place he was hiding, while others that were on the street scream as monsters attack them. One guy in hoodie looks down of the chaos, standing on a ledge, when a dog barks at the monster trying to save his young owner. He jumps down the roof, condenses power on its fist when another monster rips through the building to attack, but he smashes, toppling both monster and bullied, which attracts the monster's attention. He protects the kid, stopping in a place a bit farther away and asking if he is okay when the monster attacks again, but gets punched through a building wall where multiple monsters waiting. He gathers his power again and jumps into action, ripping apart the monster, when nearby he senses another person who looks down on him. They gather their power and both of them dash at each other. To initiate the fight, the blue aura guy confesses that the monster that was only heard in the legends were roaming the 21st century was aiming for him, and he was the reason behind all of it. 8 months ago, as students are walking to school, someone calls Dogro, who turns around to see Red Jacket Guy, who smacks him on the head and says it felt good as he looks him fall down face first while his friend records. Naru tries to get up, but the red jacket sits on his back asking his friend to take a picture, who takes it while laughing. The red jacket grabs Naru by his hair, calling him a loser who had his power dormant. Naru was an outcast in his class as he was going to eat his medicine. One of the bullies smacks his sides, calling him a junkie and making him drop all the medicine. He began to harass him for using medicine, asking what it was telling him to not let his mother find out, but acts like her. Just remember he didn't have one, calling him orphan, which enrages him. But the bullies just laugh at him when Red Jacket Bully comes and tells them they shouldn't bother the sick and treat them with physical therapy, and starts beating him. Naru didn't really care if he got beat up, but like he was chained, even if he was angry, like his heart was about to burst with anger, some stronger power was holding him back. Just once, he wanted to get angry as much as he wanted. He wanted to kill them all. He glared at the red jacket, who notices him get angry. He gets ready to punch him again when someone behind tells him to get out of the way. He turns to see Lee Luna, who again tells him to get out of the way. The bully smiles with a red on his cheeks and apologizes, saying he will move left with his friends. She stares down at Naru, who just walks away down the case, while stepping on his medicine when Luna looks at the crushed medicine and notices something. Naru stands on the ledge, looking down at the field, and everyone happy. He gets closer to the edge when his grandma's message comes asking if he wants anything for dinner, reminding him of everything he went through with his grandma and how happy she looked, and patting his head while telling he is a nice person. Jung-young burst through the door, asking what he was doing, telling him it was dangerous and to come down. Naru tells he was just looking at the scenery, but Jung-young say it was still dangerous. He only talked to him when no one was around, afraid of being treated the same way. Jung-young asks if he was okay, but Naru just tells him he is going first and walk past him. Naru returned to class and sleeps on his bench as Luna, looking at him, notices some kind of commotion between a student looking at the photo which had something weird in the background. Looking at them, freaking out, Luna just walks out of the class. Back in the place photo was taken, the flesh monster walks out of the tower, calling out to find a key while wearing what looks like a layer of skin and walking off. Naru applies ointment back home when Grandma walks in, so he quickly hides himself, pretending to be asleep. She notices the ointment but doesn't question him. In laundry, she sees his shirt tattered with footmark. Outside, a monster walks up to a delivery driver saying he needs the skin. The next morning, Naru looks at the mirror, noticing the wound had swollen up more. He worries it might surprise Grandma. He hears her telling him to wake up for school and to have breakfast before it gets cold. He says he was feeling unwell, hiding his face with towel, and tells he was gonna wash up. The doorbell rang, and in the intercom, the person said it was delivered, so he opened the door and walked into the bath. The delivery guy walked in and closed the door behind him. Grandma stood in front of him and noticed it was a monster who attacked toward her, telling her he found it. He attacks the grandma, who dodges it, admitting they found him again, and wraps it with her power. She reminds him of the warning to not look for him again, but the monster breaks the bind, telling he would continue until he finds it. Feeling him, he heard noise. Naru turned off the shower, but Grandma binds the monster's face, telling it to quiet down. Naru starts showering again, not hearing anything, and the monster whips at Grandma, who gathers her power to transform it into a spider net, capturing the monster. Naru, who notices the noise, opens the door and calls out to her grandma, asking about the noise, who had his eyes closed due to soap. Grandma tells it was just TV telling. She turned up the volume because she couldn't hear it, telling there was nothing wrong. Naru goes back and hearing that. The monster says it was useless to keep running away, when Grandma cuts up the monster and stares as it disintegrates. Looking at the mirror, he notices the swelling has gone, but thinks it isn't good to go out for breakfast like this. Grandma looks at the mirror as the wound on the cheek heals up and thinks she had to sort out the accommodation, as they both wonder what they should say to each other. During PE run, he remembers how his grandma's face didn't look well when went out, then tells himself to focus on running, but ends up passing out. A dream of someone running while being chased by something red when the person jumps off the cliff into a whirlpool. When Naru wakes up in infirmary, he looks out the window wondering what that repeating dream was, when his grandma called, who told him that they were moving again, so he should come early to pack up. He asked if they were running away again. He didn't know the reason, but she had always running since he was a kid. Grandma stands on the balcony, looking at the street below, wondering how long she can keep him safe as the attack frequency is increasing. Monsters begin to pop out of various places. A truck driving at night is suddenly attacked and surrounded by the monsters. The truck that was attacked parked in front of the Naru's place when every animal in the building begins to bark as the delivery guy opens up the back filled with monsters. The grandma notices something off and tells Naru to go to school immediately. He is confused, but complies. He opens the elevator but finds it filled with the delivery workers, who walks past him when he senses something off but isn't sure what. He wonders where they are going and enters the elevator when another guy asks if was coming. Outside, he notices the delivery truck and opens the back, noticing it empty when a delivery guy is flung out the window of his house. He tells the guard nearby to report the fallen person and runs back to his house. In the house, Grandma starts using her power to slice every monster there. One different-looking monster walks up, telling her it is useless to hold on as the king's troop would be coming soon. Grandma binds the neck and pulls him, not believing the troop would come out. He begins slashing at Grandma, telling her to open everyone's door and to give him the key to welcome the king's troop. Grandma moves swiftly and binds the monster completely and asks who the king was. He asks for the key again, but Grandma tells him she doesn't have it when she hears Naru calling from outside with a hand on the door handle. She binds to door shut, and using this chance, the monster stabs his arm through her. Hearing the scream, Naru begins banging on the door, and inside the monster tells her that resistance was useless, holding his cut arm. The grandma mocks him for putting his life for a hopeless thing and tells him to them along. Hearing Grandma say us, he remember the boy on the elevator. Someone made her lower her guard when she was head of the guards and ask if it was a kid. Noticing her reaction, he taunts, saying if the king finds out about it, but is stopped mid-sentence. She asks how Kum found out, as he was going to die here anyway, and kills him. The guard checks where the person is supposed to have fallen and finds nothing. Naru keeps calling out when the monster grabs him from behind. Grandma tells him to let Naru go as he is just human, but the monster says he is a human that she cares about. She says she will give them what they want if they let the kid go. Monster doesn't believe and tells her to give up the key first, slightly stabbing Naru's cheeks. Grandma collects power but stops looking at Naru's surprised face. Seeing the power go down, monster cuts off her arm. Naru bites the monster's arm, and the monster throws him to the wall. As he gets up, he sees the monster attacking him. His grandma is coming toward him. Worried and getting stabbed, he jumps up to attack, but also gets stabbed through the chest. The monster tells Grandma he was disappointed in her for showing her back, as he expected more from the head guard Sana, when he feels huge pressure and sees her standing up. She wraps the monster with her power and squeezes it as Naru looks at them. In war, someone tells Sana to take care of Naru as she jumps off the edge of the whirlpool. As he is floating in the darkness, he hears someone telling him not to die, and he asks who it is but doesn't get any answer. He thinks he has heard it before, when a past memory comes to him. He is punching a kid who tells him he didn't have mom and was living with her grandma when someone grabs him by the ear and slaps him, scolding him. The woman takes him away as he stands there with tears on his eyes. Back in the house, Grandma is holding him as tears fall down her eyes. She lays him down and looks at him as he lay with a hole in his chest. Not knowing when Kum's soldiers will come, she makes a decision. She condensed all the energy and put it in his body. She returned the weapon she took from him and sent him to the battlefield, knowing the heavy burden he would have to carry. As the chain holding breaks, the power inside him surges and covers him as he slowly floats. Sana tries to touch him, but starts disintegrating. Says her goodbye with a smile. The moment he wakes up, he calls out for her grandma in the empty house. After a month in a station, one officer walks up to him, telling him being there wouldn't bring back his grandma who left. Naru says she didn't leave, and the officer tells he has already reported her missing and asks why he comes every day. He stands up and showing a portrait of monster he made and tells she wasn't missing. The officer begins to scold while shoving the portrait back, asking if though of police as fools. The report says there was no evidence there and tells him it's crime to report lie when other officer drags him away, who covers his mouth, saying he must be having hard time as he didn't have a family, while telling Naru to return home. The security officer told him he didn't see anything and CCTV hadn't recorded anything, making everything he saw disappear without proof, leaving everything the same, like nothing ever happened. He lay on sofa going through everything that happened and wondering if any of it was real or if it was a dream, but one reality remained. His grandma had disappeared and he was alone. He informs the teacher, who understands he must have been busy the past month, and says he will try to not let rumors spread. He tells him to continue school, as that is what his grandma would have wanted. He meets on Jungyang on his way out. He suddenly senses someone but finds nothing. In PE class, other students gossip but are surprised looking at Naru run question if that is actually him. Naru himself finds it weird how he can sense every motion in his surroundings, but stops when he feels someone watching him. In the hallway, he senses the same person as before, walking behind him, and wonders if they are related to his grandma, as only a few people in school knew about it. He turns a corner and waits for the person to come and finds out it was Luna. Luna asks if Naru needs something, and he says he mistook her for someone else in panic, wondering if he was being too sensitive. Luna asks if he hasn't taken medication nowadays, and Naru lies, saying he is better now, but realizes he hasn't taken any medicine since that day. He suddenly jumps out the window, saying he remembered something, and runs away. Luna looks at him go until she sees the bullies walk down the stairs and ignores them, turn around, walking away with a smile, saying it was good that he wasn't taking medicine anymore. At night, he sees Luna at her part-time work. He tries to walk away, but returns to help an elderly who is collecting cardboard. The elderly tells him where the card is, and Naru offers to empty it and bring it back. Luna notices the two bullies enter and frowns, as the bullies are happy as buying cigarettes from the boomer clerk is difficult. Luna says she doesn't want to sell to minor in uniform, but one of the bullies tries to threaten and make excuses, but she just says goodbye and making them leave. They see the elder close by and ask her to buy cigarettes, but she refuses. Angry, they begin to stomp on the boards she collected and start threatening her. Naru returned with the cart, saw them, and shouted at them to stop in anger. He gave the cart to the elderly, while the bully mocked him for acting like a hero. Naru saw the stomped cardboard and glared at them, but the bully just grabbed his collar and pulls him to an alleyway. He begins beating Naru, while the other one keeps a watch out. As he is beaten and insulted, something inside him begins to crack, and his power leaks out as he grabs the foot and squeezes it, and turns it, breaking it. The one outside looks when hears the scream and sees Naru standing with the foot of the other bully in his hand, as he is screaming to let go. The other bully tries to scream at him, but Naru just runs away, not sure what is happening. In a swing, he thought of how hurt he was, but now his body didn't feel like his own, and his power that didn't seem like his. Next day in school, the other bully did not believe a medicine-eating guy was this strong, tried to talk to him. He screams at him while Naru stays calm. He asks if Naru wanted to die when tries Jungyong to help him out. Naru stands up and glares at him, which makes him freeze. He is sure what happened to his friend wasn't a trick he thinks of punching, but walk away in anger. He goes to a nearby construction site in the morning and climbs to the top. He walks out to a nearby iron beam and tries to lift it with one arm, but laughs at himself, thinking it is stupid, but notices the bent frame where his hand was. This time he uses both hands. His energy leaks out as tattoo shines on side of his face. He picks up the beam with one arm, surprised himself. During lunch, the red jacket takes chicken from other students and sits with his friends. He waves at Luna and calls her to sit, but she ignores him and asks Naru and sit with him. As the others gossip looking at Luna and Naru, Red Jacket glares at them while ripping his chicken. Outside, he asks the blonde one if Dogro really broke his foot, and the red-haired boy says he saw it himself. While he is insulting the blonde, Luna calls them childish. She mocks that the Red Jacket was afraid of Naru, who used to be weak. Red Jacket just laughs it off, saying Dogro was just acting tough. Luna dares them to show Naru who is top. Red Jacket tries to play it off, but Luna tells him he was scared, which enrages him. Angry, he tells he will give Dogro some physical therapy this time. Someone messages Naru to come to the rear gate, when Jungyong messages asking if he is fighting the Red Jacket at rear gate 6, which confuses him. The news of their fighting spreads around the school. Looking at the message that said he had to end things himself, he goes to the location on time. He meets Red Jacket there, who is ready to beat him up, while there are students around who come to see the fight. Face to face, he decides that if things won't end unless he ends it himself, then he will end it here. Hearing everyone around, he tells Naru can hit him first, and he will stand still. Others laugh as he mocks Naru. He tells him to hit one more time, but before he can end his sentence, he is sent flying with a punch. Afterward, Naru tells him to get up, grabbing his collar and punching him. Everyone around turn pale, looking at Naru, punching an already down guy, when someone shouts to stop. Red Jacket, leak voice of help, and Naru, coming face to face, tells he will not kill him, and icy breath hitting his face. Luna looks off a roof to see what happens and confirms her belief that Naru is the one. As he is returning home, Jungyong tosses his bag to him and he thanks him. He asks if he is okay, saying he has changed. As he walks home, someone is already looking through the place. He opens the door and turns on the light, but no one is there. He puts down his bag on the table and bends to check a plant pot, while a mantis monster stays on the ceiling. The mantis tries to attack, but Naru throws a pot on its head. He had senses him from the elevator and wonders if he is one of those people. The mantis tries to slash him, but he easily dodges. He grabs one of his arms, twists it, and breaks it. Noticing he isn't human, monster runs off, ripping his arm off, and jumps out the window. Naru jumping behind, winding up to kick him, which he blocks using it arm but gets slammed to the ground. Naru lands and checks but doesn't find the monster. He could still smell the monster and chases after him. The mantis, who is hopping through the roof, decides that retreating and reporting is a priority when Naru appears, surprising him, but he tosses the nearby table to block his vision. Naru breaks the table and sees monster running away. He grabs a nearby umbrella and throws it like a spear, pinning him to a building. Naru begins to question the pinned monster, who replies he was there for Sana. None of the combatants who went looking for him had made it back. He asks why they were looking for his grandma, surprised hearing that Mantis ask who he is. But he stabs the umbrella deeper, asking why they were looking for her. In pain, he tells she had stolen the key and Kroom send them here to find it. As he tries to tell the demons of the other side, Naru is surprised that the monster is a demon, but the monster tells that Naru himself was a demon, which he denies. Hearing that, the monster begins to laugh and asks if he is sure he is a human. He tries to deny, but nearby shatter mirror, he sees the blue tattoo in his face, which distracts him, and using that chance, the monster runs off to demon realm. The news of the monster's return spreads around, and he kneels in front of a throne, shivering. One in the robe orders him to speak. He is informed that Sana is dead and there is no trace left, but he encounters a young man, features of that traitor who was unaware of his identity. The robe asks why he didn't bring the young man, but he replies the power difference was too big a power gap that he couldn't. The robe stomps and berates him for suffering defeat and coming back without being able to deal with one ordinary man. He says that the young man was strong, fast, and has cold breath that could make his body freeze. Kroom asks again if he breathed cold air. Chen walks up to him and asks if he is sure. He tells he would not dare lie, and it was as he was burned with cold air. It was like cold fire. The moment he says that, Chen rips his head and tosses it aside, and the robe just begins to deny it, saying only the eldest son had it, but there was no way it would remain. Chen also admits he thought so as well, but warns Robe to not run his mouth, and looks back at the king, connect the dots, and thinks that the king's descendant is alive. He runs to the station to ask if it is true, and the office just tells him to see for himself. In the monitor he sees his grandma, and the officer tells him the place in the video was famous for medicine, which reminds Naru of all the medicine she gave him. He runs out asking them to send the address and reaches the place. He looks around and finds a smell, which he follows to an old man and asks him for medicine. He asks who is it for and freezes the moment Sana names come. He tells him to wait here, but Naru notices he has run away and runs after him. Using his unusual strength, he catches up to the old man and says she is his grandma, which stops the kick from nearly landing on him. He tells him that the medicine was a suppressant, which prevents demonic power from showing. He asks if she gave it to him to stop him from turning into monster. The old guy figures out that Naru grew up not knowing he was demon. Old guy is confused who the boy Santa crossed the gap with was. Naru asks him to tell about his grandma, and the old man agrees. She was the greatest warrior in the demon kingdom and general of the royal guard, serving the empress closely. One day, King's younger brother raised an army and breached the palace. After a long war, both king and queen lost their life. Kroom sacrificed thousands of his brother's followers as he took the throne, and only a few survived and made it to Earth. They lived with humans when she found him. Kroom kept dispatching combatants to kill survivors, and he thought Naru was one of them. He knew they were obsessed with Sana and were trying to take something she was holding, not matter if she was chaste. She always came for the medicine, so he was worried when she stopped coming, and asked what happened to her, and understood when Naru began to cry. He tell that they won't stop, and now they would aim for him. Standing on the edge of the roof, he didn't care if he was human or demon. Only thing he cared about was they had killed his grandma, and he wouldn't cower like he did in the past, standing, ready for a fight. On the demon kingdom, Kroon and Chen, riding their flying beast, looks at the entrance to the human realm. They had sent hundreds of monsters to kill Sana, but none had returned. Kroom, who felt the human was looking down on them when they were stuck, declares that he would conquer human world once the entrance opens up. Chen deducts that Sana must have left the key to the king's son. Kroom understands the kid was their opportunity and tells Chen to give the human world chaos and that key as he rides back. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.